Hey, it's Russ and Lauren, and this is the Infectious Groove Music Channel. And I recently did a video on the channel for 5 albums that changed my life. Not necessarily my 5 favorite albums of all time, and they weren't even ranked. It was just like these albums, wow, I'm like a different person, or I understood music differently because of. And as soon as I had the idea for that video for the channel, I was like, well, obviously Lauren has to do one as well. So if you like that video, please take a listen to our discussion regarding the albums that changed Lauren's life. And like I said in that video too, drop a comment for this one too. Let me know what you think of her picks or some more albums that changed your life. So these aren't ranked or anything either, right? And they're not even close to your favorite albums of all time. They're just albums that had an impact on you for one reason or another.
Yep, that's exactly it. I understood the assignment. So the first one I want to talk about is the Matchbox 20's debut album, Yourself or Someone Like You. And this changed my life in that the CD for this was the first piece of music that I bought for myself with my own money.
Not even a single or anything?
Nope, I bought this CD.
I just myself, before I bought any albums, I bought obviously I'm much older here, but like 45s, you know, before, but this is like the first piece of any music you bought before.
Yep. And
Gotcha.
and it was, what was interesting about this was also kind of the first thing that was mine. You know, like all my other music and a lot of what I'm about to talk about hereafter is stuff that, you know, came from my parents or other influences. But this was me making a choice about a thing that I like. Yeah.
One thing too, and this is kind of a teaser, but coming fairly soon to the channel, we're going to have a review of the latest pressing of Yourself or Someone Like You, which is a 2 LP, 45 RPM version from Analog Productions. And at the risk of being a spoiler for that video, whew, that is a pressing.
It is.
That is a pressing. Now the next one is one that I can totally, I could probably say why this album is important to you. But I bet this album had an impact on a lot more people's lives than they even know.
Yeah, The Dance, Fleetwood Mac. And this was important for me because this album is the reason, by way of a long story that I'm not about to tell on the channel, but this album is the reason why I love Stevie Nicks. This album is the reason why this dog here is named Belladonna. This was such a moment in time too, 1997. And like, Fleetwood Mac came back firing all cylinders for the first time, you know, in well over a decade, really. And it was magical to see, you know, and it was magical to hear Stevie's voice in a way that people like hadn't heard in a while. And then her kind of coming back with, you know, Silver Springs and all that anger right there. I mean, she was just kind of proof that you could be pretty. And
so what you were saying about Fleetwood Mac firing on all cylinders, a lot of times when bands do this, and I can think of many that I won't bother naming right now, when they get back together or whatever else, they put out these live things. Like you can just, like I've said to you in the car before, like when certain live tracks are playing and I go, this is what it sounds like when you're just there to make money, you know, and was there money going around for this? Sure. But you can tell that like everybody there wanted to be showcased and go, hey, this, like from Christine on, like Christine is kind of like the underdog of that lineup. Right. And everybody was there to be like, this is why I'm a big deal in this band. Johnny McVie, you know, he's playing his butt off, you know? But yeah, and so every version of everything on there, like you could look at this track listing and just be like, oh, look, they do those songs. That's expected. But then when you listen to them, you're like, every version is the best version. So yeah, I could see how you'd be like, wait a minute, there's so much more to this Fleetwood Mac than just the few things that I heard. Yeah. The next one is an act I'm not overly familiar with, but I've heard a lot of his stuff since you've been playing it for me, and I like a lot of it, and I feel like I know where it comes from for you, but
yeah, it's a Turn of a Friendly Card by the Alan Parsons Project. And this one and the next one I'm about to talk about are like wholly my dad's fault, and I use fault loosely, but the reason why I put this particular album on the list is because this for me was the first album that I recognized as being a concept album. This was the first time I put all those pieces together and say like, oh, this whole thing is telling a whole story. And I thought I was so impressed by that. And so this is also kind of what opened the door for me into like more progressive kind of rock stuff. So like you've heard me talk ad nauseum about Rush on this channel. This album is why. And you might say like Alan Parsons Project and Rush, they're totally different, but it's...
They don't have to be making the same music for...
Right, but that was
Yeah, from one to the other for sure. The next one on here is one that, again, if you're a fan of this channel, you're like, oh, really? But this particular record, I would assume most people, if they're going to list this artist, they're going to say the album from 75. And I like that that's not exactly where we're going with this as far as like what had an impact on you.
Yeah, Elton John, Madman Across the Water from 1972.
Mm-hmm.
I love this album and the one immediately after it and the one immediately before it. Tumbleweed Connection, Madman, and Honky Chateau. I think that's a perfect set of 3 albums.
Mm-hmm.
But Madman, like right in the middle, this is the album that taught me that Elton John is more than the stuff you hear on the radio, because there was not a single hit single on this album, right? And it's there's good stanky bits, which is what I've come to love about
Yeah, and I've talked about this with other artists as well, but like it's a revelation sometimes when you get into an artist who all you ever hear on the radio is those, like, I'm such a big fan of Pink Floyd The Wall, and every time I hear Brick in the Wall on the radio, I want to be like, but there are 25 other songs, you know, like on that one album alone, you know. So it's nice when you hear something and you go, oh my, there's so much more to this artist than I knew of. Yeah. The last one that's on here is an artist that was on my list as well, except this album was released, I don't know, at least a decade later by the same artist. The artist won't come as a surprise, but what album are we talking about?
Bad Hair Day, Weird Al Yankovic. And, you know, I heard what you said in your video, and I echo a lot of the same sentiments. It's just that this was my first Weird Al album. This was the thing that made me go, oh, you can be funny, and you can be smart, and you can be talented, and you can do it all without, you know, taking yourself or the world around you too seriously.
Funny without making fun, or mean or anything along those lines, and silly but still smart. Like, you know, because this, I don't think there's a Weird Al album that doesn't meet those requirements, but like this is similar to my pick in that, like, if you really listen to a lot of the things that are going on this record, it's all silly, like Phony Calls, very silly, but very smart as well. So, yeah. And, you know, for me personally, this album had a big impact for me in a different way. It was a gateway to me making new friends at the time that it had come out. Like, I literally had a person be like, did you just buy the new Weird Al album? And we became friends over it.
You love it. You love to see it. And yeah, I mean, it's, again, like echoing a little bit what you already said, is that, you know, this album, fast forward several decades, you know, is the reason why I have you, the reason why we're both sitting here, because that fandom happened.
Because of the Weird Al record I picked up and because of the one you picked up. Yeah, and I feel like if either of us, I said this in my video, but I feel like if the day you got Bad Hair Day, they'd be like, you're going to meet your husband over that one day. You would have been like, do what now?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, really? Okay.
Yeah. So like I said at the top, though, please leave a comment and let us know what you think of Lauren's picks. And I know if you're watching this video, you have albums that have changed your life. If you haven't already, or if you have more to share, please share them with us on this video below. If you're in any sort of social media groups or anything where they discuss music or whatnot, please share the video out because that helps us grow a lot. Likes, something as simple as a like on the video, I swear, really helps grow the channel. But as we always say, thank you so much for watching.